No reasons, just because we could. And we'd have a convoy of cars just driving up to Skegness in the middle of the night. Just when we got there, you got there and you by the clock tower, you just sit and have a drink, have a piss in the and then drive back. Why? Because we could. It wasn't. It
Up
was
to Skeggy.
yeah, up to Skeggy in the middle of the night.
First time I drove to Skeggy, I hadn't long passed my test,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't even turn the stereo on.
You were a fucking scary driver in that Mini. You were dangerous. I'm surprised you didn't kill yourself
Well,
in
you
it.
just passed my test.
Yeah, I
hadn't
know. That's why you were scary. It's like, and then the batch bar down
Yeah.
centre opposite the sports centre.
Yeah.
And you had people like Steve Pinhead who had the Beetle, the slime bug Beetle.
Yeah, the green slime.
Yeah, and then you had Tesco, and then his brother who was a bit of a rogue, wasn't he?
Stuart.
Yeah.
Stuart's really.
He settled down apparently.
Yeah, and Stuart comes out to
Yeah.
Portugal. Was out in
Yeah.
Portugal because him and my missus, his missus were mates from at school or from work. Where, so that was a combination that met. But Stuart come out and
Stuart was always There was
And-
things he was up to. We're not going to say what he was up to, but he was
man.
he was a good
We
one.
all love you now, buddy.
It's like people. Some people I still keep in touch with. Chris Danger Zone, Notty. He went into the police force,
Yeah.
and the amount of people
And there
that
was
were
another
in
one-
the CBers that went into the police
There
force,
was
like
another one
Johnny Morse. Was it Morse Coat Johnny? Was it Morse?
There was another one, weren't there?
He used to hang around with Steve. But there was John. He was he went into the police force, and it was like, do you know what? And you had people like Dave Black Knight.
Dave Black Knight. That time Dave was in the Memorial Park and he did that handbrake.
Oh, was yours
turn.
one of the Capris? He wiped out windscreens on all the Capris.
He wiped out all those cars, and there was about.
Yeah.
There was a good lot of rear window screens he took out and front screens he took out.
Well, my
and,
mate Matty, Desert Rat, I still talk to Matty now. He took out his Capri windscreen, and then Dave come round with a Capri windscreen and went, "Here you go," and it just fell straight through because Matty's was a European Capri, so it wasn't. It didn't fit.
Yeah,
and I remember some of the cars. Matty used to have a Celica, an automatic Celica. And we used to get out of the car and he'd put it on full lock and it just go driving around in some of the stupid shit ass things we used to do as kids. Back in our misspent youth, Andy.
The CB days were the best days.
It's the social media.
It was the original social media.
It was better than the social media is now because you were out, you were with people.
And we were the second generation because we were like in the FM days, you know. When you talk to some of the older timers who were in the, we were in the FM days. If you talk to some of the older boys who were in the FM, the AM days, that was again another.
But we were also rebels because not many of us had licences for your CB.
Oh yeah.
And you had to have a licence for all. But there was a loophole. You only had to have a licence if you were house based.
Yeah.
If you were mobile, and I always remember Adam Guinnessman with his Canon BJ with the battery packs on his bike.
Yeah.
And he'd come out to go mobile on a fox hunt, and he'd come out on his bike, and we're all sitting there in the car. It's like, and the fox hunts.
Yeah, the fox hunts.
The amount of fox hunts we used to have with Jez, Robin Hood, and I remember one of his where he used to be up Binley. You'd have the larder dealership, Smiths, where Morrison's is now, and we used to park his larder on the forecourt.
Yeah.
Of the larder dealership, and you'd see everyone driving past, and they're like, "We can't find him," until we had security come round and like, "Oh, you can't move on," and like. And then we'd go on ghost hunts.
Yeah, the ghost hunts.
Me and Jez used to be a bugger with it. Do you remember when we put on the side of his larder the Ghostbuster symbol? We actually put Ghostbuster symbol. We got it on clear transparent paper and I drew it and stenciled it and we stuck it on his larder. And then we drove down the past the sports centre. And I was the passenger and Jez was driving. We both dropped our seats vertical. And we just drove past as though no one was in the car, and I was on the PA on his going, wah, wah. And we picked up Donna, Baby Blue Eyes. I remember we took her. She used to be in a car a lot with her, and I can't remember the girl. We used to go out a lot, and then all of a sudden, it might have been
Yvonne, Daddy's girl.
It might have been. We went out for a ghost hunt, and we were out over Evesham way. And me and Jez had been pulled over by the old Bill so many times, and he had a vacuum in his boot, and he had this ghost almanac. And the coppers pulled us over and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "A ghost hunting." And they went, "Don't give us that shit. What are you doing out?" And I went, "Yeah, we're ghost hunting." And he opened the boot, and he got this vacuum cleaner and this ghost almanac. And the coppers were like, "What the?" I mean, the police again. I don't know if you were with us on this. We used to go up Coombe Abbey a lot.
Yeah, Coombe Abbey.
And coming back from Coombe Abbey, there was a massive convoy of us, and we got pulled over by the police. We had the police helicopter up and everything.
Yeah, they used to watch us all the time because in the day when you got 20 cars together, and there was always 2 or 3 people in the cars, and that's like when we were down the Batch Bar and when we were at the Memorial Park, and we used to just line up. We'd go from one end of the car park to the next, and we used to get out, and there was a good crew of us.
But we weren't doing things like they do nowadays, where they go out and boy race and they race and do donuts on and do stupid illegal stuff. We were just socialising,
talking, just talking. You know what I mean?
We were getting out, and then all of a sudden someone would say, "Do you want a fox hunt?" Yeah, and say, "Okay, you're the fox. Go and hide." And it's like you'd hide literally anywhere in the city.
Yeah. We used to go around just house to house drinking tea.
Yeah,
you know.
I used to hang out with, that was I was saying earlier, there was Gary Hatchett, man. I used to go out in his car. Bearing in mind, I was 16, 17 when I was going out these days.
Gaz,
and you're like,
Gaz is a good driver.
Oh, yeah.
Gaz can drive.
And the amount of time, I've been pulled over by the old Bill with him as well, that we were in a car and got pulled over. And I remember it was on the old Canley, the bypass past the old Jag. And we got pulled over there and got, right, lie down on the floor. And it was like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm 17. It's like, oh, it's looking for stolen goods. And it's like, what? I mean, Gary was squeaky clean as far as I was. He was a good
guy.
It was either him or Steve Starfire I was only out with, which it took me years to realise he only had one eye.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're talking to him, and I think it was the outside one, and when you were talking to him, he'd look at you, and you're thinking, oh, he's got one eye on the road, but after realising that, you're thinking, he wasn't looking where he was going at all. You're like, but yeah, and then like getting in the car, just off to Skegness.
Yeah.
Or, the occasional, we did have a few races, but it was to see who could get from the M69 from McDonald's to the McDonald's at Hinckley. And that was when I had my Sapphire, because you had Steve Sapphire as well, who had the black Sapphire.
Yeah.
He always liked mine because of my Pepper Potts, my Recaros, and it used to like a bat out of hell. I had a love affair with that car.
And you had the SDs, the Rovers, weren't it?
Yeah. And you had Ady Roadhog. I'd been in his car the amount of times. I even had him as a passenger in my car and got pulled over because he was a passenger. And he got pulled over. I remember him getting pulled over once in his Rover SD car. And they seized his car. Yeah. Because he was a bit of a naughty boy, was Ady Roadhog. I've spoke to him not long ago, but he's out there still. Good mechanic, knew his stuff on his cars. And he always made me laugh. He went, I don't give a shit that they've seized my car. He says, because when they look in the boot, where his spare wheel tyre was, it was all nuts and bolts and washers. And he says, because they've seized his car, they're going to have to catalogue all that. So he used to piss himself laughing. But you'd get pulled over if he was sitting in your passenger seat, because there's a cop car come past. He'd wave at them or he'd do that. I was like, so, I mean, yeah, there were some rogues, and then you got, people like Lee and Maz. Or as I still call, I'm still brave enough to call her Mary. And even Lee says, you'll live dangerously. I say I'll survive this long by calling her Mary. Yeah. And I say it and then run. I can't run as fast now because I'm f***ed. But it's, Lee and Maz, they're another met through the rig, remember Lee burning his tyres when he did wheel spins and pouring bleach on the back of the tyres to get them to smoke better and, things like this. And you're like, and he had Chris, I think Chris Danger Zone, do you remember when he totaled his car? The petrol station that used to be at Holbrooks by the church. There was a petrol station, that's a car wash now. He lost control of his car and went through the petrol station, almost killed himself. I think it's when he had his white Sierra. But I still speak to Chris quite a bit. But it was always made me laugh when he went into the old Bill.
It was Frank.
Oh, bloody hell. You used to have the Escort boys.
Mr. Sparks.
You had the Escort boys. You had the Mark 1s and the Mark 2s. And you had Tom. No Imagination.
Yeah.
Punk Bear.
Yeah.
They were the Escort boys.
These are the old boys. These are the old names all coming back.
Eve as well. Eve. I saw her last time. I think I saw Eve. She was at Matty's wedding.
But Yvonne's. Because Yvonne's sister was called Eve, wasn't it?
Yeah. No. I can't remember. But Eve Dawn. At the time, she was with Tom. Remember Eve, Tom's girlfriend.
Who's friends with Michelle?
Yes, yeah.
They're best buddies.
You had Michelle Toogood as well.
Yeah.
And there was and then you had, what's her name? I can't remember her name now, out in Bubbenall. Sarah. Rain Dancer, and you're like,
Sarah and Rachel.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of it, and I'd love to catch you. You know, you want to get everyone back together and go. You were a complete twat back then. What are you doing now?
There we go.
Well,
let's make it happen. We can have a big CB get together. Not like, I think we are. Let's maybe.
Yeah.
No, let's just do it. Let's get it together. You know.
I mean, to reminisce, people like. I mean, we've recently just lost Brian Violator.
Yeah.
And we've lost people like Nadine, Party Girl.
Yeah.
Jez Robin Hood. I can't remember James's handle.
Mystic Tim.
Mystic Tim. So, I mean, they're the only ones off the top of my head I can think of. It's, you know, they're the ones that... But there's so many people, and there's ones we don't know about that have gone. You know, so, I mean, you always remember... I mean, you're thinking like you had Tracy and Mar Baker and I did see you got The Undertaker, Barry, he was on there. I've seen him pop up on social media.
Baz is still kicking around, ain't you, Baz?
And you got, what's his name, taxi driver, Pete Mole.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he used to be taxi driver. I can't remember his handle, whatever your handle was, Pete.
Begins with an M. Because Donna lived with him.
Yeah, for a bit. I think everyone lived with him for a bit, didn't they?
Yeah.
And you had...
Planet, come on, we can't forget you, Planet.
Oh, we can't forget Planet, no. And then you had Tony Mystery.
Yeah, Tony Mystery.
Yeah. Crikey, yeah, there was some out there. You had Caroline Flasher. Who else do you have? There was...
Like an encyclopedia.
Old Painted Lady.
Yeah, Painted Lady.
I can't remember. Was it Noreen? Nadine? No.
Nadine, I think.
No, Nadine was Party Girl or Noddy. Painted Lady. I can't remember her name. And there was so many of them.
They were the best days. They were the best days.
Parties at people's houses in the middle of the night. Just
Dave and
their parents were away.
Dave and Bevel's apparently were the Legends part. I don't think I ever went to one, or might have.
And who used to have the calf as well? Up Clay Lane, Pat's Calf.
Pat's Calf.
And then you had Mr. Porky's. You know, it was always, you'd be down the town, and you had the Batch Bar as well. The guy who owned the Batch Bar, we always used to get cheap food from him.
Yeah, well, there was enough for us, weren't it?
And I think Chris took it on one year, didn't he? Didn't Chris Danger's own? He bought the Batch Bar. Right. I think he bought his to start off, because now we had a mobile catering thing. I says I'm seeing him at the weekend, so because I'm going up to Western.
It ain't the same on Facebook, is it? And Messenger. When
I created the Facebook page. There's the Facebook group of there, the CB Reunited, which there's loads of people on there, and every now and then I'll just flick through and go, do you know what? There's a blast from the past there, and it's like that's brought a load of people who people forgot about. You know,
photos. There's a few old photos on there.
Yeah.
I bet you there's many people who've got the old photos there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few photos on there. There's a couple of you with your Mini.
Yeah, they're the only ones. And you know, like my Capri, I had a Capri, didn't I? Yeah. And there's only one picture of my Capri, and I haven't even got it. Yeah. Jackie's got it somewhere.
Yeah. And I think there was a picture of you. I think it was just after you passed your test, because I'm sure we were up Burton Dassets, and I'm sure you drove up there one of the first times.
I had a quarter wave on the top of mine.
Yeah, and it was like yours looked like a Dodgem, and then you had my mate Derek Dodgem who had his accident.
Station of the Nation.
So it's and it's, but I mean there were some arseholes. I mean, you know, look at Kev Duracell for one, and his Chris Packett episode. If everyone knows about that, then obviously you don't know about that one.
No, here we go.
It was apparently Jez walked into Kev Duracell's house and he was masturbating into a packet of crisps, an empty packet of crisps. But that was, whether it was true, this was Jez. Jez used to come up, but Kev Duracell never denied it.
Were they? Was
he got so yeah.
Porn and Crocked. Was it?
And you got Tesco Tearaway. I don't think Tesco hasn't changed a bit.
Tesco.
You just got to see him on social media and look at his babes.
Tesco's a legend. Tesco's a legend, and
is that a gap in there? Leg end? Or is it,
he hasn't changed. He hasn't changed.
He's just lost his hair, but he's still a ginger tosser.
Yeah.
He always has been, always will. But he's one of the nicest guys you could ever know. Yeah. So I think the last time I saw Paul was I think it was either...
That'll be one of the next interviews.
It was either Nadine's party, or it was Lee and Maz had a party, and I'm sure it was something. But there's some photos I remember catching up with Tesco then. But yeah, I mean, come on, crikey, we've all got stories of those days, and there's so many. I mean, I've got so many stories of me and Jez. I mean, when we got pulled over by the police for apparently kidnapping Red Scarf, Johnny Red Scarf. we took him out. I mean, he was a full blown grown man, you know. Yeah. And he come out with us one night, and me and Jez used to do all night benders. We'd drive, and I'd end up going home about 6 o'clock in the morning, and then just going to sleep. And Wendy, John's mum, called the police because she thought he'd been kidnapped because he hadn't come home. And I think that's when we had that police chopper up. And they were like, you know, they'd just give a description of, I think he's gone with these guys. And we'd like, no, he's 23 or 24. He's like, he's a grown-ass man. He can do what he wants. But we had the police pull us over and everything. It was like little stories like that. You were like, okay, yeah. It's, when you look back and you go, no, we weren't really rebels. We were just enjoying life.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, you couldn't. I mean,
yeah, it's okay now and again. We did the odd naughty thing.
I don't know. I never did. That might have been you. That might have been you, Spacey. You were always doing naughty things. I'm not saying anything, but it's who you hung around with, I think.
Exactly. Like, yeah, but no.
Did one of them join into the police force who you hung around with as well?
There's a few of them. There's a few of them. Joined the police and the military and the secret service.
I went into the army as well. So, you know, it's like the people you didn't expect. I did 3 years with the Royal Signals. So, you know, and it's like sometimes it was an escapism. You know, you wanted to get away. But it's history makes you who you are. And if you hadn't took that path, like, I mean, I know how philosophical you are as well, but it's one of those that, I mean, I've got my martial arts background. Only few know what I achieved within my martial arts. But it's always me. Like it says, even with my belts and that I do now, it's all roll the dice, take the chance. Yeah. If you don't take the chance, you don't know what's happening.
You never know.
Tomorrow's not gifted. Tomorrow's not gifted. You know, carpe diem and all that. Seize the moment. Yeah. And I was taught that by my sensei, who's no longer with us. Well, both of my senseis are no longer with us. But it's one of those that you've got your path. You know, you might follow the same path as other people, but at some point you've got to go off on your own path. You can't follow the same person's path because no two people are the same. You've
got to believe it in the mind. Yeah. And then you've got to make it happen with the body.
Yeah. So sometimes your body gives in. I mean, mine's given after all the years of wrestling and throwing my body around like a bloody lunatic. I've now got up back. So, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm seizing every moment that comes. And, you know, one day I might be in a chair. I says, because my back might get to that stage. But at the moment, it. I'm living every day. I wake up in the morning and it's a bonus.
You have to accept that time moves on, and what was yesterday and what tomorrow is tomorrow, but it's today that makes the difference. And accepting that and finding your role in your path. Yeah. As we get older and we've got the aches and the pains, we can't perform as fast or as hard as we used to do, but we have to find a different role
But history makes you who you are.
Yeah,
you learn from history.
That's your character.
Yeah, but you learn from history. It's these people that try and rewrite history. This never happened. No. The whole idea of history is things that go wrong or people do wrong, you learn from that, so you never do it again.
A mistake is only a mistake if you do it twice. Yeah. The first time it's a learning experience. Yeah. And if somebody makes a mistake and you know about it, you shouldn't really make that mistake because they've already done it for you. So that's what a lesson. And that's the power of being able to, of writing, because that's how people pass knowledge on, is by writing, generation to generation. So you step up from the shoulders of the people before. That's the whole point, So you learn from people who have done it.
Well, before. When people make the mistakes for you, if you make the mistakes, then you learn from your mistakes. But if someone else hasn't done that mistake, you don't make the same mistake they've made.
Exactly. If they've made that mistake, you should not make it because they've done the lesson and you learn from it.
Yeah. So it's one of those. But if you didn't learn from your mistakes or people didn't make mistakes and everyone wasn't individual, everyone's individual. No, if we were all the same, then it'd be a boring world. It's like I would say with people, they're like, I started off having, first tattoo and then another one, Every single one of my tattoos has got a meaning. Yeah. I don't just have it for the sake of it. It looked nice in the book on the wall. It's like mine, it's very tribal because of the Viking heritage as well that do me digging through my family tree, lineage. And every tattoo I've ever had has an extra meaning as to why I've had it. And I've also designed most of them.
Everything should have meaning.
You don't just do it for the sake of doing it. You've got to do it for a reason.
Every thought, every action, every word spoken should have a meaning.
Well, it's like when me and you started chatting again. there was a connection there from the filming side and from me doing stuff with the movies. We've then got the martial arts connection, but then we've also got, like, we've known each other for over 2 decades. And it's like, well, yeah, okay. I was being positive. I was trying to bring us back a year, you know. So when you say 3 decades, it makes us feel like old farts.
I'm 50, so you're 49.
I'm 50 next month, next year in January. So.
I got into CB when I was 14. I got into martial arts when I was 9.
Yeah.
So.
See, I got late into my martial arts. I got into that when I think it was probably about I was mid-20s. But I started doing my freestyle kickboxing at the Canley Fitness for First.
Yeah, under Scott Atkins. So
yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. Answer your emails. Pick up your phone. We need to talk.
That's one person I'd love to get back in touch with and chat to. I mean, he's a very busy man, and you try and messages him. And I'd got a path through when I was following some of the routes and doing some stuff, and another martial arts friend of mine. But he's doing phenomenal, and I always love everything he's doing. I'm thinking, do you know what? I remember the days when he'd come back to the training and said he'd been for this audition, and I know he went for Texas Walker Ranger, which he never got the part of Chuck Norris's sidekick and that, and he was cut up about it. But then it opened up other doors, and I think he did stuff for the Jackie Chan stunt team, and I think he did Power Rangers the movie then, and did stunt work for it. But I always remember us taking the mickey, but then I saw recently, for the first time, there was a photo with him with Chuck Norris at a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And I thought,
a couple of weeks back in London.
all these years, it's took him that time. He's now finally met, Chuck, and how it would have been, and how cool that would have been back then. But fate throws you these reasons. You follow these paths for a reason. And then here in John Wick, the amount of people I said, "Oh, that's Scott," and they went, "No, it isn't.
Yeah.
No, that's him in a fat suit."
Yeah.
I says, "That's Scott." You only got to look at the fighting technique, and you go, "Hold on." And you know what? Yeah, I mean,
I was talking to
the Birmingham kid done good. That's all I'd say on that one.
Same as Birmingham, same as Dorian Yates. He's out in Marbella now, living out in Marbella. We've got Phil Clark. Phil Clark was with Jackie Chan stunt team for 5 years, and he was just up the road from me, and I was like speaking to him and saying, "Well, come down and have a kick about." But yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even from the martial arts side, the amount of people have lost, we've lost recently as well. I mean, I lost my sensei, Anthony Pillage. Before him, we lost my other sensei, Richard Bastillo, in the States. So it's, and you learn from those people. They pass on their knowledge, because you're passing on the knowledge to the next generation. And then I see some of my martial arts mates that are out there that, I'm up in Blackpool in a few weeks. I'm going to catch up with another mate of mine up there, George. But you always remember the stories, and it's like, stories from this and some of the stories that Pillage used to tell us. But I've met other people through my martial arts side that I've got friends for life. I've got friends, and even if I don't talk to them, I message them every day, "How you doing, mate?"
And that's the thing. I mean, that's one thing with the old CB. I mean, and I am really, I will not speak to people for 10 years and then I'll say, "Hey, can you help me out?" But that's what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what true friends are. You don't speak for decades, but then it's just like, we haven't seen each other for, last time was the reception, the end at Jim's funeral, weren't it?
No, I wasn't there. I didn't go to Jim's funeral. I think my wife did, but I didn't. I don't think I went.
Because in that case, it's got to have been 20 years. Oh, it's a long time. And
yeah,
here we are chatting.
It's probably over that. Yeah.
Here we are chatting like as if it was yesterday.
But then again, we've FaceTimed and videoed, or we've constantly talking from you in Portugal. So.
Yeah, that's why I think the CB connection is so special, is because for all those times, for all them years, you used to speak to people and you never met them.
No.
Unless you went on an eyeball.
Yeah.
So you got to know their personality, and you used to converse till whatever time in the mornings, all through the night, learning that.
Yeah, and then when it got to that stage where you were out and about, and you'd always, I mean, even before I was driving, I'd have messages from people saying, "Oh, you want to come out? Okay, yeah, I'll come and get you."
Yeah, come pick me up. Yeah, give us a couple of quid for petrol.
Yeah. I mean, now a couple of I mean, it made me laugh. I was saying to people when the fuel crisis was as high as it was on petrol and all
Remember,
that.
it was 99p and it all kicked off.
Yeah, and it's like, I remember when we used to put petrol in cars, and you could fill a car like a Granada for a tenner, and you get to Skeggy and back, and you're like, shit, one. It's like, and Cortina, and the cars that the guys were driving weren't economical cars either.
No.
They were all Mark 1 Cortinas,
Twin
Escorts,
Webbers on there.
I mean, even on my Mini, I had my Mini Clubman had twin carburetors on it, and then you'd modify. I remember when I had my first Escort estate, I stripped it all out and put an XR3i interior in it, and then put the block of RS in it. And even my Mini estate, my Mini Clubman, I put a 1300 MG engine in it. And I remember going to get that with Jez. And we went to the scrapyard and brought it back in the boot of the Mini Clubman. And it rolling around. And it was like, if you'd broke hard, that engine would have come and would have been top of us. And then dragging that engine across my mum's back garden on doors to get it to the garage. But then that also rung true, because the day we were doing that was when it was snowing, the 17th of January, was when my uncle had his accident on the A45 and was killed. So I know that exact moment, who I was with, where I was with. It was me and Jez dragging this car engine up the garage, so it's those memories, they stay with you for that point. There's a pinpoint time, you remember certain
Everybody
things.
knows where it was when they heard about Lady Diana.
Yeah, so I can't even remember where I was. I think I was in, I think that's an era of my life I've blanked out. For many reasons. But
yes. We forget what we've actually done.
Yeah.
We actually forget, and it's the same with hardships and that. You have a problem now, but you forgot that you've already gone through so many hardships, and then you go, oh yeah, there was that time, and that's where you get strength. And it is with memories. It's like, oh yeah, there was that, and there was that, and that.
We have to go through shit to get to the other side.
They're in there, they've just got to be triggered to come out.
Yeah.
And then the emotions attached with it.
Yeah, and it's like, I remember when recently lost my father-in-law, and I was flicking through old pictures to see if I got any online of finding ones of him. And I was coming across photos of my old senseis and my old mates I've lost. And I had to stop looking for the pictures, because I was like, do you know what? I know we've lost someone we love, but then when you're saying, oh shit, and these people have lost as well, and you're like, do you know what? Right, step back. Because at a certain point you're like, okay, right, overload.
Yeah.
But you might lose people, but you don't lose them, because they're still in here. Yeah. They're always in there.
The memory
and those memories you can't get rid of. And there's some memories that, other people won't share because it was just the two of you.
Yeah.
And those comments and things. So it's, but yeah, it's, they were definitely the fun times, and the CB, I would say it definitely was the original hangout, and the amount of people that hooked up through it as well. It was like the dating game. Who's going out with who now? Or someone would turn up with someone else in the car, and you think, hey, who are they with now? And it's like, it's like
and it also CB broke up a lot of marriages.
I wouldn't know about those ones. That's probably down to you, Andy. But if it weren't for CB connections, I wouldn't be with my wife now. So, I met her through Carl and Hayley and Jez.
They've made a few marriages also, and a few babies.
Well, yeah, and there's some strong connections there still that are still together now, that you're thinking, everyone was always down, they're a bit of an odd couple, but they're still there.
Yeah.
There's that bond. I think you got to know people better through the internet. Some people you lose contact with from no fault of your own. It might be them not wanting, but it's one of those that I always find, every now and then I'll message people and go, how are you doing? I haven't spoke to you in a while. Just thought I'd reach out. But in my head, it's always me doing that. And it's like, it doesn't take anyone else just to think that clarity and go, I haven't spoke to so-and-so in a while. I wonder how they're doing. And message them. Simple as. It doesn't...
I'm probably guilty of that.
Yeah.
But I'm just... Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's good. It's good to reminisce on those. I think my lad's about to call. What you want, Riley? What you want? I'm just chatting with my mate Andy. What do you want? Have you granddad's house? Yeah, okay. Bye. Teenagers.
Well, I'm Andy Spacey, and this is...
John the Hawk.
And this is our little reminisce. After all these years about everything CB and life and martial arts.
And definitely CB, we wouldn't be who we are today without the original social media.
And that's a big 10-4. So I'm going to say 73s from now.
10-10 till we hear it again.
Over and out.